Everyone said it was over, the meme was dead. The salt-sprinkling move that once drove the internet crazy, it was now just a memory. On TikTok, viral videos showed outrageous receipts. On YouTube, entire documentaries told the story of his downfall. On Twitter, millions of comments mocked him. Salt Bae is finished. For many, Nusret Gökçe, the man who conquered the world with a single flick of the hand, was no longer a star. He had become a symbol of excess, arrogance, and ridiculous luxury. His image seemed destroyed, his empire ready to collapse. And yet, there was one detail no one had considered, while the internet buried him in criticism. Salt Bae was making more money than ever. In 2025, his London restaurant made over $9 million in just 3 months. A record that crushed every rumor of failure. How is it possible that a man cancelled by the internet ended up even richer? To understand, we need to go back to the moment when everything seemed to fall apart, because the detail that changed everything was not what it seemed. Everything starts with the customers. The first viral complaints came directly from those who had paid absurd sums for dinner in his restaurants. A golden tomahawk for over €1,000. A burger sold for more than €100. A gold leaf dessert that cost as much as a family's monthly groceries. On TikTok, these receipts exploded. Tens of millions of views. Some users laughed, others insulted him, but all agreed on one thing. Salt Bae was just marketing with no substance. Then came the YouTube videos. Sensational titles. The downfall of Salt Bae. The end of a meme. Creators dissecting his every move, telling stories of disappointed customers, painting him as a man who burned down his own empire. And on Twitter, thousands of jokes, memes, parodies. Salt Bae became the punchline of the moment. No longer a star chef, but the perfect example of how a viral phenomenon can become ridiculous in just a few years. For the online audience, the verdict was clear. Salt Bae was finished, but what no one knew was that this was only the surface. Behind the criticism, behind the memes, something much bigger was about to emerge. The evidence of decline seemed unstoppable. Former employees spoke of exhausting shifts, up to 14 hours a day, of unpaid overtime, of tips withheld and sudden firings. International outlets picked up these accusations, turning them into headlines that spread worldwide. Salt Bae's empire is built on exploitation. And then came the episode that enraged millions of fans. The World Cup final in Qatar. Salt Bae storming the field, approaching Messi, insisting on touching the World Cup, forcing him into a photo. A gesture that, instead of crowning him as a global star, made him the most hated man in sports. On the internet, the sentence seemed final. Salt Bae was no longer a successful entrepreneur. He was a burned-out meme, a ridiculous figure, a man who had destroyed his own image. And yet, while all this so-called proof of decline piled up, no one had noticed a crucial detail, a detail that soon would completely flip the story. And then came the twist. While social media mocked him, the numbers told a completely different story. In 2025, his London restaurant reported staggering revenue, over $9 million in the first 3 months of the year. A 16% increase compared to 2024. Not a collapse, not a crisis, a record. And it wasn't an isolated case. While people called him a dead meme, Salt Bae was planning his biggest expansion yet. Milan, Rome, Naples, Ibiza, Mexico. New openings, new markets, new clients eager to spend ridiculous amounts just to say, I ate at Salt Bae's. The man the internet declared finished wasn't shutting down restaurants, he was multiplying them. Salt Bae wasn't in decline. Salt Bae was richer than ever. But this success didn't erase a massive problem. The online hate never went away. In fact, it grew alongside his profits. And that's where the story gets even more interesting. But money doesn't buy everything. Because while his bank accounts grew, his public image continued to collapse. On TikTok, every new video featuring him became a joke. On Twitter, every headline about his openings triggered floods of memes and insults. On YouTube, creators kept producing Fall of Salt Bae videos, racking up millions of views. Salt Bae had become a living paradox, a man hated by millions online, yet followed by customers willing to pay absurd prices just to see him sprinkle salt on a steak. His name became synonymous with both luxury and ridicule. For detractors, he represented everything wrong with dining. Overpriced menus, spectacle over substance, marketing over cooking. For fans, it was an experience worth living at least once in a lifetime. And the question became inevitable. How can a man so hated keep making so much money? The answer lies in another part of his story, one not about hate, but about VIP. There's one detail many forget. While millions online laughed at him, celebrities kept knocking at his door. In his restaurants, football stars, Hollywood actors, rappers, and influencers with millions of followers sat down to dine. Every time a celebrity posted a picture with Salt Bae, the image spread everywhere. It didn't matter if people mocked him. For his brand, it was free publicity. And that was his real secret. Because in the luxury world, the opinion of the masses matters less than the approval of the rich and famous. If Cristiano Ronaldo, Leonardo DiCaprio, or a Premier League star sit at your table, your restaurants will never be empty. So, while ordinary people laughed at him, Salt Bae kept building his myth, not thanks to the crowd, but thanks to the elite who turned every visit into an event. And the next step, bringing this spectacle to Italy. In 2025, Salt Bae announced his arrival in Italy. First Milan, then Naples. The news sparked instant hype. Articles, interviews, social posts, but alongside the excitement came the backlash. Too expensive for Italy. This won't work here. People want tradition, not gold on their steak. An insult to Italian cuisine. And yet, behind the criticism, the same mechanism repeated. The more people talked about him, the stronger his brand grew. Every article, every meme, every joke was free publicity. For detractors, his steakhouses were just another symbol of excess. For the curious, they were a challenge to try at least once. For the rich, they were an exclusive experience to show off. So while the internet criticized him, Salt Bae bet on Italy. And if he wins that bet too, then who could ever stop him? The story of Salt Bae reveals an uncomfortable truth. On the internet, you can be destroyed in hours. All it takes is a viral video, a receipt on TikTok, a meme on Twitter, and your reputation is gone. And yet, that doesn't mean the end. Because in the real world, far from the screens, money keeps moving. And if you have a strong brand, if you offer an experience the rich want to buy, you can survive any storm. Salt Bae became the symbol of this paradox, hated online, but winning offline. A man who turned criticism into publicity and ridicule into millions of dollars. And whether you love him or hate him, one fact remains. Salt Bae wasn't buried by the web. He used that hate as fuel to grow even bigger. And now the question is for you. Is Salt Bae truly a genius who turned hate into millions? Or just a meme living its final flames destined to fade away? Write it in the comments. Would you spend thousands of dollars to experience Salt Bae's show? Or do you think it's nothing but smoke and mirrors?